One Question is designed to give subscribers valuable insights on how executive leaders in college athletics think about key issues on their respective campuses, in their departments, or within their leagues and conferences.
Greetings, this is Ty Brown and welcome to One Question, where we highlight executive leaders in college athletics. Our guest today is John Cheney. John is currently the Executive Associate Athletics Director at Northern Illinois University. Greetings, John. Thanks for joining us.
Hello. How are you doing?
Doing real good. Now, John, you spent a lot of time there at Oregon State University in event management, facilities, and operation. Your background in terms of education was as an athletic trainer, but now you're primarily facilities now, and you spent most of your time in facilities. You got to Northern Illinois to work in athletic facilities, but there were a few years there at Northern Illinois where you were in the role of interim associate vice president for facilities management and campus services. Based on that title, that was for the entire campus, right? That was beyond athletics, correct?
Correct.
So that had to be an experience that broadened your understanding of facilities on the college campus. What effect did that experience have on your understanding, expectations, and everything in terms of facilities on the college campus and in college athletics?
It was definitely an eye-opening experience. It came about, the president asked me to serve in that role in November. I had just come in January of that year, so, I'd only been on campus almost 10, 11 months when that opportunity kind of came around. And so, first off, I was obviously honored to have already made that impression to get that opportunity, but it was definitely based on a lot of my experience from Oregon State. Working there, we did over $200 million worth of renovations for athletic facilities over my 15-year tenure with that university and under Bob DeCarlis, and so it was a great experience there, and then it was able to translate it working with facilities and events here at Northern Illinois and joining up with Sean's team. So as we went through it, and I look back on it a little bit, everything's interrelated across campus. Everybody kind of gets caught up in their own areas, whether it's, the biology department or whether it's athletics. Everybody has a lot of the same needs and issues, whether that's your limited funds and resources for staff or, deferred maintenance, the annual maintenance of the facilities, competing priorities and all that type of stuff. But the other side is also the infrastructure capacity. A lot of campuses have aging infrastructure, and those are just so expensive to upgrade and maintain, and so a lot of my time was kind of analyzing and working with President Baker at the time of how we can modernize campus, but at the same time not exceed the capacity that we have with what we had in the infrastructure. And so it's not a lot of sexy work, but you start underground in the steam tunnels and some of those type of things, and how do you upgrade those so that in the future you're able to build the stuff above ground and the new facilities. So kind of started with that and some of that analytics, and then and for me it was a great opportunity just to network and develop the relationships. It was an executive level position here at NIU, and so I was on the president's cabinet, so I was sitting with the top tier of the university administration on a weekly basis in their meetings. I was attending board of trustee meetings and doing presentations related to my area of oversight, and had one-on-one meetings with the president just to do the upgrades. So it really developed kind of a deeper understanding of how the university runs and how they view different areas, including athletics, and that just helped me in my current job of how, as I analyze projects and I try to put priorities forward and work with Sean on detailing all those type of things, that we're really able to put ourselves in the best position for approvals and still keeping the campus in general in mind as we do those things.
Right. You touched on this a little bit. It helped with the relationships. When you guys there in athletics wants to do something, you know exactly who to call throughout campus, or how the effect of something that you want to do in athletics would have, and the impression, I guess, it would have on the rest of campus.
Right. No, definitely. Well, from when I was hired until I started that position, one of the things we were working on was the facilities master plan. And so then going into that position, it really helped me to kind of understand how that broader spectrum is going to incorporate with campus in general and doing those type of things, trying to find some ways that helped me identify some needs on campus that, hey, we may be able to partner with, say, admissions because they're looking for a new space to, maybe that makes sense to put them into the new football stadium or, some of those type of things. And just the relationships then. Our current president, Dr. Freeman, was the provost at the time. So I worked with her on a couple of hiring search committees and different projects throughout the day. So now it's worked out that I have a personal relationship with the president, the second president of the university since I've been here and some things. So, being able to have those type of conversations and, not having everything has to go through Sean allows him to do some of things differently and some of those type of stuff. So it's definitely been best, to have a partnership, even though we're all in the same group. It's a great working relationship for the entire campus.
It's proven beneficial. I wonder, when you were appointed to that position, there was a couple years there. Did Sean hire another facilities person, or were you doing both roles? Or
we joke about it now, but yeah, it almost killed me because I kind of kept doing both positions. But I kept both offices. I was able to physically during the day. I would be over in the campus administrative building in that office, and then obviously I relied a lot on some of my staff here. Matt Gonzalez and Sue Hansfield and Heather Priest and several that were the department heads and that type of thing had to pick up a major load, and so it added to their responsibilities. But I did still have both responsibilities. So.
That's interesting. Would you do that again? I know in athletics we tend to think we can do a whole lot with the time that we have in a week or in a day. I mean, was that something you would probably do again if you had to choose?
If I had to choose, I'd probably do it a little bit differently. It was stressful not only on my professional life, but also on my personal life. My wife and I have 4 children, so I didn't see them a whole lot for those, 8-9 months that I was in that position. It started out, it was going to be a 3-month appointment, and you kind of knew it wasn't going to necessarily move that quickly in state institution hiring process, but I was definitely ready to transition back to just one of the positions, and they hired another vice president.
I'm sure the president was happy that you served them and served the university well. You mentioned the facilities master plan there at NIU, something I think you've had a major hand in. From what I found, that involved upgrades to Husky Stadium, the baseball stadium, and an Olympic sports facility I think you guys wanted to build there. What went into creating that plan? I guess you said, part of it came about when you were in that interim role, and then obviously you're probably the primary person as you guys move on 4 years later in that plan. How do you evaluate some of the challenges you went through in creating and implementing that plan? And then also, can you tell us about some of the successes you've had in executing the plan? I've talked to Sean before in terms of funding, right? In the state of Illinois has had some issues in terms of funding higher education, but you guys have found a way to be successful at it. So I'd like to know how all that plays into this facilities master plans and where you guys are now.
Right. No, that definitely was part of the challenge. But as far as the facility master plan initially, we obviously had a great partner. We worked with AECOM in their Kansas City office and had great partners in development of the plan and the resources that they made available. So, that worked out extremely well. One of the first things when I came was meeting with each head coach and kind of going through each of their programs. And I came here knowing that Sean wanted to do a facilities master plan, and that was one of the things that attracted me to the position, as well as working for Sean, but and NIU and their success, obviously. But so I already had a little bit of a baseline as to kind of where our current needs were, as well as where the visions for some of the coaches were for their programs, that kind of thing. So that's really where we started with AECOM and ourselves, kind of building off that initial information I had, and then also really doing in-depth facility analysis. In particular, the Husky Stadium, the football stadium, was the primary project and kind of the anchor point project, but we also wanted to do all-encompassing entire department facility plan, anticipating obviously that would take several years and, to incorporate, but you need to have a plan if you're going to go forward with anything. So we wanted to start there and be strategic about it. And as well as when you're engaging donors and prospective donors, you want to be able to offer them kind of the full menu. They may not have an interest in a football facility, but they may with a gymnastics or Olympic sport facility or baseball or those types of things. So really having that full master plan available to you when you do that is where we started. But it was really an integration. Dr. Baker, President Baker at the time, was going through a campus master plan, and so it worked out very well that we could integrate what he was coming through with his kind of vision for campus and just putting our district kind of within that. And so we went into all that, as an engaged process that we engaged our donors, the foundation, a lot of our campus leadership and student leadership just to get input and ideas. But then the challenges kind of started because we released it in October of 2014 and started doing our donor engagement and so on. But then the summer of 2015 is when the state of Illinois government basically became at an impasse politically, and so we had over 700 days of no state budget, so a little over 2 years that they didn't pass a state budget, which really impacted just higher ed in the state, as long as all other state agencies. But for our particular instance, it was definitely a higher ed situation, and so that kind of changes your focus because you're not able to really go out and say, hey, I'm trying to raise $60 million for a football stadium when you can't pay scholarships or your enrollment's declining or those type of things. And so that's where we're part of campus just as much as any other area, and you need to be sensitive to that, and you need to be engaged in that. And it's not like the budget cuts didn't impact us as well. So we had to switch our focus on fundraising, which Sean has done a great job of, more to scholarship and cost of attendance, and everybody within our department has done a great job of kind of shifting that over, and the donors understand that. And so we haven't built any of the completely new projects and new facilities, but I would say that our success is more viewed in kind of the intermediate steps. We're engaging in renovations versus new facilities. We're working through a lot of areas that help generate revenue that in the long run is going to help pay for the new facilities. We've still done several donor amenity projects, coaches club, a terrace club over in the football stadium, as well as it's called the Nelson Club, which is a suite level facility over here in the convocation center. And student welfare continues to grow and expand. We just announced we had a lead gift, and we're going to start construction on a nutrition center in the fall, and that should be, in the spring, which should be done by spring break. And we've renovated a lot of the locker rooms and got engaged in, upgrades to our fields as far as surfaces of the fields, and replaced the basketball court and some of those type of things. So supports the mission and vision that we have for the university and for the athletic department, and makes us good stewards of what we've got available.
The last thing I was wondering, though, you mentioned that on many campuses, usually the academic infrastructure is aging. And I wonder, in this facilities master plan, based on the experience you had in that interim associate vice president role, are you able to integrate those two things, some of the academics with the athletics? You mentioned some of that when you were talking. Yeah,
I think so. We explored, in particular with the football stadium, that there'd be several floors, or at least 2 floors on within that structure that we could incorporate future build-out plans with. And so, it was a matter of finding a partner group or university funding that would want to partner with some of that. Our campus rec, can they utilize some facilities? There's a lot of different capabilities, I guess, within it, because it doesn't make a lot of sense for some of these multi-million-dollar facilities to only be used, 7 Saturdays a year, or or 20 basketball games, or those type of things. So there's got to be ways to integrate the two and find a happy medium. And athletics can be the catalyst to help with that. Even if we're paying 70% of the cost, if somebody else could come up with that 30, that's 30 that you don't have to necessarily generate. And so if there's ways to do that, if there's potential donor interest in some of those areas, all those type of things definitely weigh into the equation to really find what's the best solution and best way to do what's best for campus as well as each area.
Right. Well, John, this has been a great conversation. It's very insightful. I really appreciate you joining us here on One Question.
Well, thank you. I appreciate being there, and go Huskies.
That was John Cheney. He's the Executive Associate Athletics Director at Northern Illinois University. And of course, this is Ty Brown with One Question. And keep in mind, the role of a leader is to create and maintain an environment that people want to be a part of. And as always, be better tomorrow than you are today. This episode of One Question is produced by Spades Media Group, solving problems using creative leadership.